Hi everyone. Good morning. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, J Octopus Technologies. Okay, let's get started. Guys, in the previous class, we tried to discuss about addition of two numbers and subtraction of two numbers. Right? If you people remember, we have written one small Java program with name something called as calculator, where we try to perform addition of any two numbers and subtraction of any two numbers. Right? So fine. So in today's session, so what we'll try to do, guys? So we'll try to do swapping up of two numbers, or let us think in this way. Okay, so in today's session, generally for any fresher or for any 1+ or 2+ years of experience guy, they used to ask a small code snippet like how to swap two numbers. So before writing up of the program, so let us try to understand what is meant by this swapping. Swapping is nothing but interchanging of values from one variable to another variable. For example, let's say I have a variable called as a, and inside this variable, I try to store a value something called as 10. Then I have another variable called as b, and inside this, I try to store a value something called as 20. Right, guys? So two variables. I have first variable as a, stored it with value something called as 10, and I have another variable called as b, stored with the value something called as 20. So whenever I say swap, now b value should be stored in a and a value should be stored in b. Means the output should be something like a value should be equal to 20 and b value should be equal to 10. So this we call it as swapping up of values. So let us try to see one small program like how to swap the values without using a temporary variable. Okay guys, fine. Just give me 2 minutes of time. I'll write the logic and we'll try to explain the logic step by step. Okay, so we are done with the program. So now let's try to understand the program step by step. So first what I have done. So I have written one program. So program name I have given it as swap example. So whenever you are writing any Java program, so the program should always start with a keyword something called as class. So that is the reason I am trying to say class, and class name I am trying to give it as swap example. So if you see again, so the first starting letter of your program, we are trying to give it in a capital letter. So uh, in Java, or the Java standard is like whenever you are trying to create any Java program, so it should always create, or it should always start with a capital letter. Okay guys, then inside this program now I have taken two variables. First variable name is a and second variable name is b, and both of them are of type integer data type. Correct? So I am taking two variables a and b, and both of them are of type integer data type. So whenever you specify integer data type, so inside those variables we can store only numerical values without decimals. Now if you see at line number 2, we have just defined the variables, but we haven't stored any values inside those variables. So inside, in order to store values inside these variables, I have written one method. So method name I have given it as store details method. Method name you can give anything. So here I have given the method name as store details method. So again, if you see in case of Java, so whenever you are trying to write any method, so the method should always start with a small letter. So that is the reason I am trying to give method name or with small letter. So in front of this method name, I'm trying to keep a keyword something called as void. Means when the user is trying to call to this store details method, for the user, this method is not going to return any value or any result. Then in front of void keyword, again I'm trying to keep an access specifier something called as public. Means we can access to the store details method from the same program or from a different program. Now after the method name, if you see in the parenthesis brackets, I am trying to take two arguments. X is first argument and Y is second argument. Means when the user tries to call to the store details method, it is expecting two inputs. Means when the user tries to call to the store methods, the user has to pass two values, and both the values should be of type integer data type. Okay guys, for example, let us assume like when the user is trying to call to the store details method, so user passed two values, first value as 10 and second value as 20. Now 10 will be stored under your X and 20 will be stored under your Y. Then inside this method, I am simply trying to say a is equal to X. So as I told you people guys, in Java, always the assignment happens from right hand side to left hand side. Now if you see right hand side, X is an argument which is holding a value something called as 10, and that 10 will be copied into your a variable. Got it? That 10 will be copied into your a variable. Now if you see a, we have defined at line number 2. Then in the next statement, I am trying to say b is equal to y. Again, right hand side, y is an argument which is holding a value something called as 20, and that 20 will be copied into your b variable. So if you see this b variable, now b is getting stored, or b we have defined with line number 2. Then just before swapping, I want to display what is the value of A and what is the value of B. So for that reason, I have written one method with name something called as before swap. So method name you can give anything. So I have given the method name as before swap. Now again in front of this method, I'm trying to keep a keyword something called as void. Means when the user calls to this method will not return any result. Then in front of void keyword, I'm trying to keep an access specifier something called as public. Means we can access to this before swap method from the same class or from a different class. Now inside this method, what we are trying to do, we are simply trying to keep a system.out.println statement. So if you people remember, whenever you want to print something onto the console, we are going to make use of a statement something called as system.out.println. In double quotes, whatever you keep, that will be printed as it is. So in double quotes, I am trying to say before swapping a value colon. So that will be printed as it is. Now along with this information, I want to print some extra information. So that is the reason keeping a plus symbol. After keeping plus symbol, then I specified the variable name as a. Now when you specify the variable name as a, so whatever the value it got stored inside a, that value it will try to print. So in a, we try to store a value something called as 10. So that 10 will be printed. So after a, after printing 10, now still I want to print some other value, or still I want to print some extra value. So that is the reason I'm trying to keep a plus symbol. Again in double quotes, I'm trying to say b value. So that will be printed as it is on the console. Along with this information, still I want to print some extra information. So again, keeping a plus symbol. Then I specified b. Now whenever you say b, so b is a variable which is holding a value something called as 20. So that 20 will be printed on the console. That's it we are doing in the before swap method. So in the before swap method, we are simply trying to print the value of a, and we are simply trying to print the value of b. Now I want to interchange the values, or I want to swap the values. So in order to swap the values, I have written one method. So method name I have given it as after swap. Now in front of this method name, again I am trying to keep a keyword something called as void. Means when the user tries to call to this method, for the user, this method will not return any result. Then in front of void keyword, I am trying to keep an access specifier something called as public. Means this method can be called from the same program, or it can be called from a different program. Now inside this method, what we are trying to say, I am trying to say a is equal to a plus b. Now so a value we try to store it as 10, and b value we try to store it as 20. So 10 plus 20, 30. So 30 will be stored back into your a. So now a value will be replaced from 10 to 30. Then next statement, what we are trying to say, b is equal to a minus b. Now a is having a value something called as 30. Correct guys? So a value is 30 and b value is 20. So 30 minus 20, 10. So 10 will be stored back into your b. Now b value will be replaced from 20 to 10. Then in the next statement, again I am trying to say a is equal to a minus b. Now a value is 30 and b value is 10. So 30 minus 10, 20. So a value will be replaced from 30 to 20. So now in a, we try to get a value something called as 20, and in b, we try to get a value something called as 10, right? Then after that, I'm simply trying to print the value of a and b by making use of system.out.println statement. So I'm saying system.out.println. In double quotes, I am trying to say after swapping a value, so that will be as it is printed on the console. Along with this information, I want to print some extra information. So keeping a plus symbol, and then I specified a. Now in a, it stored a value something called as 20. So 20 will be printed on the console. Along with this information, still I want to print some extra information. So again, I am keeping a plus symbol, and in double quotes, I am trying to say b value colon. So that will be printed as it is on the console. Along with this information, still I want to print some extra information. So again, keeping a plus symbol, and then I specified b. Now b is a variable which is holding a value something called as 10. So that will be printed on the console. Now let us understand the real flow, how it happens this. So whenever you try to compile and whenever you try to execute this program, okay, so first always the control goes to your main method. Okay guys, so whenever you try to compile and whenever you try to run your Java program, so first the control will come to your main method and it starts executing the main method. Now inside this main method, what we are trying to do, we are trying to create an object to your class. So what is your class name? Swap example. So I am trying to say swap example reference variable. We can take any reference variable. So here I have taken the reference variable as yes is equal to new swap example. So creating an object to the class. So whenever you try to create an object to the class, now inside your class, what all the variables you are having and what all the methods you are having, all the variables and all the methods will get loaded into the memory. Once they got loaded into the memory, now you know the reference variable name and you know the variables names and you know the method names. So whenever you want to access any variables or whenever you want to access to any methods, So simply by using reference variable, you can access to those variables and we can access to those methods. Now I'm calling, now I'm trying to say yes dot store details method. So I want to access to this store details method. So I'm trying to say my reference variable dot, what is the method name? So method name is store details. So I'm trying to say yes dot store details method. Now if you see store details method, it is expecting two inputs, or if you see the store details method, it is having two arguments x and y, means it is expecting two inputs to the from the user, and both the inputs should be of type integer data type. So I am trying to say yes dot store details, and I am passing first value as 10 and second value as 20. So from line number 18, the control will transfer to your line number 3, and it starts executing the store details method. In x, it stores a value something called as 10, and in y, it stores a value something called as 20. Then I am trying to say a is equal to x. So if you see right hand side, x is an argument holding a value something called as 10, that 10 will be copied into your a. Then next statement I am trying to say b is equal to y. Again right hand side, y is an argument holding a value something called as 20, and that 20 will be copied into your b variable. After executing this statement, there are no more statements to execute, means your entire store details method got executed. From line number 6, again the control will go back to your line number 18 or your main method. Now line number 18 got executed completely. In line number 19, I am trying to say yes dot before swap. So we are trying to call to the before swap method. So from line number 19, the control will transfer to your line number 7, and it starts executing the before swap method. So inside this before swap method, we are simply trying to display the value of a and b. So I am trying to say system.out.println. In double quotes, I am trying to say before swapping a value, that will be printed as it is. Along with this message, want to print something, so keeping a plus symbol, and then I specified a. Now a is a variable holding a value something called as 10, that will be printed on the console. Still I want to print some other information, so keeping a symbol, plus symbol, and then in double quotes I am trying to say b value, so that will be printed as it is on the console. Along with this information, still I want to print something else, so keeping a plus symbol, and then I specified b. Now b is holding a value something called as 20, that will be printed on the console. So after executing this statement, no more statements to execute, means your entire before swap method got executed. From line number 9, the control will go back to your main method. Now line number 19 got executed completely. In the next statement, I'm trying to say yes dot after swap. Now from line number 20, the control will transfer to your line number 10, and it starts executing the after swap method. Now inside this method, first statement we are trying to say a is equal to a plus b. In a, we try to store a value something called as 10, and in b, we try to store a value something called as 20. So 10 plus 20, 30. So the result 30 will be stored back into your a. Next statement we are trying to say b is equal to a minus b. Now in a, it stored a value something called as 30, and in b, it stored a value something called as 20. So 30 minus 20, 10. So the result 10 will be stored back into your b variable. Then again I am trying to say a is equal to a minus b. Now a is having a value something called as 30, and b is having a value something called as 10. So 30 minus 10, 20. So the result 20 will be stored back into your a. Then I am simply trying to say system.out.println. In double quotes, I am trying to say after swapping a value. So that will be printed as it is on the console. Along with this information, I want to print some extra information. So keeping a plus symbol, and then I specified a. Now a is a variable which is holding a value something called as 20, that will be printed on the console. Along with this information, still I want to print some extra information, so keeping a plus symbol. Then in double quotes, I am trying to say b value colon, that will be printed as it is on the console. Along with this information, still I want to print some additional information, so keeping a plus symbol, and then I specified b. Now whenever you say b, so b is a variable which is holding a value something called as 10, so that 10 will be printed on the console. Now after executing this statement, there are no more statements to execute, means your entire after swap method got executed. So from line number 15, the control will go back to your main method. the control will come back to your line number 20. So after line number 20, there are no more statements to execute, means your entire main method got executed completely. Now the program will be terminated in the safe mode. Hope you understood the program, guys. Okay, if you people want to download this program, so you people can come to my GitHub repository. So my GitHub repository URL is github.com/bggirdhar163. Under that, I have created a repository with name something called as core java underscore tutorial. So you can come to this particular URL, and here if you see, you have a button with name something called as code, right? Guys, just click on this button. So either you can click on this download zip, or by making use of this URL, you can try to download. So in order to download from the URL, guys, so you need to install Git client on your machine. Okay, so then you can download by using this HTTPS command. Suppose if you don't know how to install Git client on your machine, then simply you can click on this download zip button and you can download all the programs. For latest updates on job openings and latest updates on any new upcoming batches, guys, you people can always reach out to us on our Facebook page, which is nothing but Java Online Training, or you people can reach us on our website, which is nothing but joctopus.co.in, or you people can follow us on our Instagram. So the Instagram ID is instagram.com/joctopus.technologies. Okay guys, bye bye, see you in next video.